Good morning, Warriors! Back with another episode of Vigor Warriors 2 and the 1% Club. Hope you guys are doing well. Hope you guys are on your purpose. Another great day in the kingdom that we're in, and hope you guys are continuing with conquests, not only of yourself, but the world around you, as you continue to grow with the superpower that we have that is undeniable. And God is the biggest superpower, but we also have a superpower that He gave us, and that's that retention. So keep it going, my friends. Keep it going. A lot of shout outs I'll put in the descriptions. A couple that I want to point out a little bit. DSM Tech, hang in there, my friend. You're doing a great job. Keep it up. I'm glad you came back. Keep going, guys. Even if you release and his problems, try again. I did it for many years. I get it. I understand. But you can keep trying. Never give up. Do I drink coffee, caffeine? I don't drink coffee. I never liked coffee. I don't know what it was. Something maybe back in my childhood. I never liked coffee. Caffeine, I used to have a lot of pop. I don't have pop anymore that has caffeine in it. So I don't really drink caffeine. Once in a while, I'll have tea, and that has some caffeine in it. So that's probably the only exception. And I do like green tea once in a while, so I do that as well. But I try not to do as much caffeine, though I understand there is a lot of studies that show, especially coffee and those type of things, that have qualities that make you lose weight. So it's probably something to look into at some point here. So, all right, Zach, thank you, my friend, for the compliment. I appreciate that. Antonio, you too. Thanks a lot. My wife does my hair with it and cuts the hair every so often when it gets to the point where I can't eat. So much hair in my mouth. But it's a nice thing at 61 to keep growing hair, so that's a good thing. But once in a while, I do have to get cut. Orca talks about improved hairline and semen. We're going to talk about that one as separate. Speaking of hair, we'll talk about that one a little bit. And I think that was only the ones I wanted to kind of mention. I'll put the rest of them inside of the quote. Once again, thanks for the quote from Make $750 per day. Thank you for the quote on Nietzsche. We will use that as well. All right, so the topic for today, Orlando Garcia. Thank you, Orlando. I want to make sure I shout out to you. How to stop dreams, wet dreams. So that's going to be our topic here. So let's talk about that a little bit. So we've talked about this in different types of videos over the past year and a half. And I know we have a lot of newer viewers, and once again, thank you for the subscriptions, comments, likes, donations. Please continue doing that. I appreciate it a great deal. We have talked a few times about having things, and I guess losing energy at night when you're sleeping. So we can call it different types of things, but the idea is that when you're talking about this, you have an abundance of energy. So let's look at this, why this might happen. When you're sitting there and you're going through the process of kind of wearing down and going to sleep, kind of cooling down, getting to the point of sleeping, a lot of times, a lot of things, your mind relaxes and you go back to a lot of memories. And especially I find if I have a lot of water or a lot of liquids, there's a chance that you think of memories, of course, that are going to, get you aroused and excited to the point where you may then, while you're sleeping, have a dream or think about something. All of a sudden, that you're doing that, you're releasing. Those things happen. Now, there's a lot of questions surrounding this, and I don't have all the answers because I'm not an expert on this. Do I count that as part of the days? So first of all, I don't, even though I think it's 960, I only count the days only for the kind of shows we're doing and things like that, just to illustrate, so I see the benefits as time goes on, so I can help others go through a lot of this to kind of see if what they're experiencing is the same thing. But a lot of times I don't even count the days. I mean, it's a lifestyle change, so to me this is my lifestyle, and so I'm not really changing that. And I think the same thing with dreams. I'm not going to count that against it because that's not something that I did volitionally, out of volition. I did that just because I had a dream and those things happen. I don't count that way. I think the devil might be pushing you to do that if that's put into your mind and you're basically doing this. Maybe it's something that he's trying to set up so you can continue to go back and do it yourself afterwards. I would say this: once you do that, if you do it, then just stop it right there and don't continue it. Don't try to kind of add on to it by actually doing it when you're awake, and that's where you have to kind of make sure you stop it. Having it at night, if released, that's what happens. But those things happen. So I think that a lot of it goes back to how you go to sleep. So in order to kind of stop this, or to try to stop this, like I said, I'm not an expert. I'm not a doctor, so I'm not an expert with this. But in order to try to stop it, I have used, in my case, when I had these issues way back when I was young. I haven't had these issues for several years now, but when I was younger, I used to. It's the thoughts that I had when I went to bed. That is what the key is. So I think, once again, if you're putting your mind into a lot of things, you're getting a lot of goals accomplished, you're doing God's purpose, the chances are you're probably not going to think about those things when you're sleeping. However, if you go to bed and you're watching, images on TV and those type of things, there's a chance that when you're in bed, you're actually going to go ahead and think about that again. Because that was the last thing you did. And a lot of times the last things that we do when we go to bed are things that kind of stay with us. And so we have to be very careful about how we go to bed. And I was guilty of this for a long, long time, and that's probably was part of my problem. What you put into your mind before you go to bed is a key. And I think you have to try to control that, or at least limit that to the point where, even if you're watching movies or things like that, try not to get into the sexual type of imagery and things like that, even though it's hard to avoid on television. I mean, all kinds of shows have it all the time. It's hard to avoid all of that. But you're trying to get it to the point where you're having a lot of pure thoughts. So I think the thing I try to do when I sense this happening, and it does, you can't help the images coming to you. You can't help those type of reactions your body's having, just like for wet dreams. You can't necessarily stop that. But what you can do is recognize, well, in your mind, if this is happening, I can try to offset this, or I can try to move past it. And that's what you should do. If you're at the point where you're thinking, okay, I'm about ready to release, or I'm at a prime, then you have to try to, in your mind, program yourself to basically kind of say, all right, I'm thinking of God, I'm thinking about Jesus, I'm thinking about trying to have a positive type of image or experience that gets away from those type of things. And I think once you do that, then I think you're going to get a much better shot to be able to get away from these type of things thinking about at night. But if that's all you're thinking about, and you're focusing on that, and you focus on that when you're awake, then when you're sleeping, subconsciously those things may come back to you. I'm not sure how the mind works with some of that, but I do know that I've had those experiences before, and a lot of times when I tried to get away from those thoughts, when I was exhausted and tired and I was full of a lot of activity during the day and I didn't think about it all that much, I never had those type of situations. A lot of times what happens is when you're going through the day and you're thinking about these things, they somehow or subconsciously come back to you, perhaps when you're sleeping. That's just a guess, but that's something that I would think is the case. So in order to try to stop this, in summary, Orlando, what I would recommend doing is basically trying to get yourself involved in as many activities as you can, especially before bed. And if you're able to do that, make sure you're not overeating at night, because a lot of times what happens is that, and I did this actually last night, which I shouldn't have done, you ate too late after 8 o'clock before you went to bed, and I shouldn't have done that because usually I'm fasting, but I decided to have, cheat a little bit. But it cost me, because dream-wise, your body is now trying to digest all that at night, and that's when you have crazy types of dreams too, because of the food you're still having in your system. So you have to try to get to the point where you're eating a lot in the morning. Some again, your second biggest meal should be lunch, then a little bit of dinner. I agree, I feel at least. And then at 8 o'clock or so, whenever you want to fast, and I would say fast until 12 o'clock the next day. And we'll talk about dieting as well on one of these. But I think certainly the idea of wet dreams comes into play when you're not doing enough before you go to bed to make yourself tired. If you're exhausted, I think it's very difficult to have those kind of wet dreams. But I think certainly if you're, if you're sitting around thinking about that, eating, there's possibility that you could probably have it. Again, you just want to make sure that you want to focus on the idea that you can somewhat control some of this. Some of it you can't, but I wouldn't worry about too much of it if it happens to you. But just try to continue with the path, and eventually you'll be able to kind of get it out of your system enough so that you're not going to experience it at night. All right, Orlando, I hope it helps you. Best job that I could do in giving you my opinion on this. Once again, thank you, my friend, for a good question and something we have to continue to do research on and continue to build on. All right, my friends, have a great day today. Hope you guys are going to do well. Continue battling on. And until next time, my friends, remember, every day is a new day to a great warrior. And also remember, don't forget, battle on!